go back now to Texas and join Heidi Zhou-Castro because the situation seems to have developed a little bit more since we last spoke a few moments ago at the University of Texas. Heidi, what's going on?
That's right, Sohail. So we have this circle of chanters. They're protecting an encampment that was built here in the last hour. And then we have this. This is the new development. We have rows of Texas troopers, also University of Texas police who have just arrived on the scene here in about the last 10 minutes. I just heard the police announcement saying that it is time to disperse, for all of these protesters to leave immediately or risk arrest. And the reason, of course, that they're taking this seriously and that we're watching this situation is it's really a tinderbox. Given what happened here last Wednesday, when a very similar scene occurred, when police officers called by the state governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, along with state troopers, similarly dressed, came and people have said in an overwhelming show of force, arrested some 57 people. So I was here after that day happened, and up until, I have to say so, the last hour or so, I was almost going to report to you that it seems that really had a chilling effect, because we didn't see the encampments here on UT Austin campus like elsewhere. And in fact, just this morning, speaking to those who had organized the original protest, they said, yeah, students were scared, and they were now actually staying off campus to host events. And no one really saw coming that suddenly things would shift so quickly and so dramatically in just the last hour. So again, you're seeing a group of students. Some are graduates of UT Austin. Others are community members in Austin who have come on campus here. They've linked their arms to protect a few tents that were erected in the middle of that circle. This is the exact same area where we saw those arrests with police on horseback in riot gear, injuring some protesters last week. And again, behind me, an ominous sign, according to some of the protesters, because they are expecting a renewed show of force in the moments to come. And talking to them, they said that they are not going to run if they are charged, that they plan on remaining there, calling for the divestment in any weapons manufacturers from the UT endowment and any companies linked to Israel, and in support of Palestinian lives in Gaza. And they're committed to staying there. They said they are worried, they are scared about what may happen, but that they will remain. So,
of course, we'll continue to follow events with you, Heidi Zhou-Castro, there for us in the University of Texas. Obviously, we're also monitoring what's going on at Columbia, over in New York. The same sort of scenarios happening there with police surrounding the area, expecting we'll stay with you, I think.
Now.
Yeah, we'll stay with you.
So I'm seeing the arrest happening now. Shame! 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 Fascists!
And back to blue!
Is she scum?
No provocation! Hey, professor here! You fucking back! You back! I'm your fucking professor here, and that's fucking push me! I'll kill you! Fuck so you Let's go!
they still taking us live? Yes, are they still taking us live? We will be alright. Together, stay tight. We will be alright. Together, stay tight. Mister, are they still taking us live? Together, stay tight. We will be alright. Hands up for students! 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 Hands up for students!
You are watching Al Jazeera, and these are live pictures coming from the University of Texas. We wanted you to actually get a sense of the atmosphere there that Heidi Zhou-Castro has introduced us to over the past hour or so, understanding exactly what the chants are from the students and how the police and armed officials there are dealing, or will be dealing, it seems, with the assembled crowds there. Heidi Zhou-Castro, I'm sure you can hear us. It's very noisy, Heidi, and we appreciate you might not be able to hear everything that I'm saying, but just describe the images and the mood now. It's changed dramatically in the last few minutes. I don't think Heidi Zhou-Castro can hear me quite now, but of course we can see those pictures. The state police, state troopers have, of course, encircled, it seems, the student protesters in the grounds of the University of Texas. Verbal confrontations there. Certainly, I think that gentleman in the blue shirt was saying he's actually a lecturer, and he was there to protect his students, or certainly record what they are experiencing right now. There's another circle of what I would describe would be local police who are also behind the state troopers, but nothing is being done at the moment except a standoff. The demonstrators, incredibly loud and vocal, expressing their views about freeing Palestine and they're in solidarity with the people of Gaza. The strategy is unsure about what the state troopers and the local police are going to do next. They moved at least about 100 yards from where they were, closer to the students. And we, I think, are just really watching a standoff at the moment.
Hey, so Yale, this is Heidi. I'm so sorry. I cannot hear what you're saying, but I'm going to tell you what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing is what appears to be an impending clash between Texas State Police, who, as you see, are now arriving more and more. Now they're surrounding this small encampment that is being guarded by student protesters, alumni, and community members who've linked their arms. And you're seeing more and more of the police response arriving. There has been very little conflict between the two sides, and we've been here since this started about an hour ago. There was one professor, he said that he was a UT professor, who was pushed by police. There was a verbal argument, but that seems to have ended. But talking to the protesters who are now behind the police lines now, they told me in the last few minutes before police arrived that they were very fearful because of what happened last Wednesday when there were arrests. There were several students who said they were injured, when there was a very strong police response that was called by UT Austin's president, Jay Hartzell, as well as the Texas governor, Greg Abbott. And since in those ensuing days, there had actually been a relatively quiet protest that was not as numerous. And talking to protesters, they told me that they actually were fearful that something like this would happen again. They were fearful of being expelled, they were fearful of being arrested or physically harmed. And so they had really been taking it easy in these very tightly controlled, smaller protests until about an hour and a half ago when this suddenly happened. And by this, I mean there were people who set up tents for the first time in UT Austin, kind of following the model of what we've seen elsewhere at Columbia and other university campuses. And then immediately after setting up those tents, they formed this protective ring of protesters who linked arms surrounding this encampment. Over the last few days, I've seen nothing but peaceful protests. There were people here singing songs, having meetings, professors teaching about Middle East studies, etc. And then suddenly, like with a flip of a switch, this happened in the last hour and a half. Again, so I cannot hear you. I believe we're having some communications issue, but that is what I'm seeing here. I'm going to keep an eye on if there's any sort of action. Actually, I do see the police now going in. They are using force to remove the physical barricade that looks like either a mattress or a table that protesters had erected to help them establish the circular perimeter around the encampment.
Let them go! Let them go! Let them go!
You can hear the crowd around me, so hail, they're chanting, "Let them go."
Let them go! Let them go! Let them go!
Protesters with their arms linked, using umbrellas as protection.
Let them go! Let them go!
Right now you're seeing our cameraman, Ralph O'Berty. He's standing behind a police officer who's using his bike to block media from getting any further in towards the protesters, as the police themselves have formed a perimeter around the circle of protesters. And the people surrounding me, surrounding our camera right now, are actually community members. They're not with the protests themselves per se, but you can hear their chants.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Everyone watching, everyone saying they're here to bear witness.
Free Palestine!
Protesters earlier telling me and telling the people here, please do not leave, that they wanted anything that may happen between them and police to be captured on camera.
Free Palestine!
For those of you watching Al Jazeera here, welcome. You're watching live pictures now from the University of Texas, where within the last half hour, state troopers have encircled, it seems, a group of student protesters on the grounds of the university. And beyond that encircling are local police as well. It seems that they are about to, or indeed have a strategy to break up this protest in the grounds of the university. The state troopers have as yet made no particular arrests. They have tried to remove some of the barriers. The city police, if we can call that, in the dark uniforms, who do not and are not dressed in full riot gear, have been in a few verbal confrontations with some of the people looking on. You can see the backs of their heads now. Between them and the students are two rings of security, one of the local police in dark uniform, one of the state troopers in full riot gear facing the students. Now, the state troopers moved closer to the students in the last 10 minutes or so, and as our correspondent Heidi Zhou-Castro, who's in there, told us that it was relatively peaceful and not too serious in terms of the confrontation. When the state troopers arrived, it got a lot more vocal, a lot more noisy. Obviously, various cameras trying to give us images of what's going on, and obviously a much more closer look at the type of armaments that the state troopers have. Local police are on bikes, but they are kitted out defensively, while civil society, if we can call them that, members of the public, onlookers, don't have anything except their voices and their cameras out to see what is going on. As you can see, this is what the state troopers are carrying. They seem to be well armed. There's guns there, batons, perhaps some pepper spray in some of those rucksacks, I think, on the side, if I see my munitions correctly, with the civil society members on the outside of those security cordons chanting, "Let them go," i.e. let these students go. Not quite sure what the strategy will be. We'll come back to that as that develops from the University of Texas.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.